Hi boys and girls! In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how we can connect two maps, how we can put start position on a given map in WorkAdventure, and how we can put exits that lead to other maps. So let me show you what we are going to do today. Here we have a very simple map. It's quite beautiful actually, it's a desert island. And we have another map here. And basically what we are going to do is when our character is going to walk in the boat and will enter the boat here, he will actually be redirected to our office. Okay, it's a bit weird, but why not after all? But first and foremost, I want to show you something. When you are starting a map on WorkAdventure, you are going to arrive at the very center of the map, okay? This is your start position. And often, your start position should not be the center of your map. If you want to define your start position, you can go in Tile, and in Tile, you need to create a layer, a tile layer that must be named Start. My advice is to put the start layer at the very bottom of the map. There is quite a number of layers on this map, as you can see. And basically, the start layer can contain any tile. It does not matter. I have a special tile set here, which is quite useful and that I can use. Basically put special tiles, but really you can put any tile. So I'm going to select my tile here, and I'm going to put my start layer here. So of course it is below everything, so I cannot see what I'm doing. If I press the H key, I can see here. So my start layer will be here. What it means is that when I'm starting, I will be put randomly on any of those 9 tiles. Let's see if this works. I'm going to save the file. I'm going in WorkAdventure, I will refresh the page, and if I connect, I can see, you see, I arrived on this tile. If I refresh again, okay, I'm on that tile. Basically, WorkAdventure will put me in any of the tiles that are on the layer that is called Start. One more time, the only thing that matters is the name of the layer here, Start. You could put absolutely anything. I could have used signs here rather than the start tile. This is really just a picture. What is important is the name of the layer. It must be Start. So I have my start layer, and now I want to put an exit layer. So an exit layer will be used to exit from a map and to go to another map. In order to do that, I'm going to create another layer, and I can name it as I want. Let's call it exit to office. I'm going to use the little exit tile, but one more time I could really put absolutely what I want here. I'm going to say that when I walk on this exit, this tile here, I want to change map. I want to be redirected to another map, and basically I need to provide the URL for the map. If you have a look at WorkAdventure, here we have a URL, and as you can see, this one is called outdoor, ends by outdoor.json, which happens to be the name of the file. If you are using SaaS version of WorkAdventure, you can actually replace that by absolutely anything. What is important is that you need to know the URL you want to go to. And in my case, the URL I want to go to is map.json, which is my office. I want to go to map.json. So in tile, on this layer, I'm going to put a custom property. So I'm going to click the plus sign here, and I'm going to name this property exit URL. You need to write it exactly like that, with a capital U and everything else in lowercase. And this URL is a string, which means it contains letters actually. And here I need to put the relative URL. I am in outdoor, I want to go to map.json. What I need to put here is map.json. I could actually write stuff like going one layer above by using .. or I could put a absolute URL by starting by slash and maybe going into some other map, whatever. But you have to remember that this is a URL. This is not the name of the file. This is really a URL that is related to the current map. Basically, I define the exit URL here, and it's called map.json. Is it working? Let's have a look. So I'm refreshing WorkAdventure, and if I walk here, success! I walk on the exit and I'm redirected to my office. It's pretty cool. It's not completely perfect because, as you noticed, when I'm arriving in the office, I'm arriving at this position and the office has no doors, so it's a bit like I'm appearing magically in the office. So what we would like to do is actually, when I'm going into the office, I want to arrive maybe here. Let's do that. I'm going back to tile, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a hole in the walls. So here I'm going to put a hole, and here I have my entry, which is pretty cool. I could of course modify the start layer here to put it here. Now there is there is a collision layer here that I need to delete too. Okay, cool. The fact is, some maps have several entries. Here I have only one, but imagine maybe there is another entry here leading to another map and stuff like that. I need actually several start positions and not only once. In order to do that, I can create special layers, which is what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to create a layer here, and I'm going to call it entry from boat, and basically I will define those tiles to be the tiles I'm arriving on when I come from the boat. On this layer I'm going to put a special property, and the name of this property will be start layer, and it must actually be a boolean property, and I'm going to check it. What this means is that this layer can be used as a start position. How can I do that? Well, it's pretty easy. I can pass the name of the layer in the URL using a dash. Let me show you. Here, in the URL, if I put here a dash and the name of the layer, which is entry from boat, and refreshing the page, my character will automatically appear on this start layer, the layer that I specified here. Now that I define this special layer, the last thing that remains to do is to refer it in the other map. Okay, so in tile, I'm going to go back to my outdoor map, and in the exit to office layer, the exit URL will not be map.json. Remember, this is not the name of a file, this is a URL. So I can put the last part of the URL. I'm going to save the file, and the last thing we have to do is simply to test this. And if I'm going in, hey, I'm in the office. Oh, cool! Of course, one thing that would be really cool is if I'm going back, I should go back to the boat. And now I'm pretty sure you understood what I need to do. I need to put an exit URL right here. So let me show you. What I'm going to do here is define a new tile layer, which is called exit to boat, for instance, but the name does not really matter. And here, when I walk on one of these tiles, well, what I will do is go to the URL here, whose name will be outdoor.json. I need to define a start layer on the other map. Let's call it from office. Cool. And here we go. I would like to appear here. Now you can see that I have a problem. This is already an exit layer, and if I am appearing on an exit, as soon as I appeared, I will disappear immediately. So maybe what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take the exit layer and I will move it here. And I will remove this exit layer. The layer here is collidable, so I'm going to remove the collidable piece so that I can actually walk on it. If I cannot walk on it, I cannot exit. And so basically the start layer will be here, just below. Remember, here I put from_office, so I need to give this name exactly to the layer. From_dashes, sorry. I'm going to select my start layer and I'm going to put it here. And the last thing I need to do, remember, I need to declare this as a start layer. It's a boolean. I'm going to click the start layer button here. I'm going to save everything and we just need to test this right now. So let's refresh this. And if I'm exiting, hey, success! I'm going to the boat. So, we were able to put an exit on a map that leads to an entry on another map, and when we go back, we are going back the other way around to the original map, which is pretty cool. It's the small start of a multiverse. You can imagine from one map going to another and yet another, and linking and building a huge wall with your maps of friends or colleagues or other companies you are working with. Have fun, actually, and do not hesitate to put as many exits and as many maps as you want, because it's actually quite easy to connect them. One last thing I need really to insist on, remember that the exit URL in Tile, the one you can see here, is a URL. If you are using a custom URL in the SaaS version of WorkAdventure, if you are creating a room, maybe you will need to change this part of the URL by whatever you are using for your room. When you are creating a special room, maybe you will have to use a special exit URL. We are going to see in a future tutorial how to make exits configurable and how to make sure that from the map itself you can configure the exit to point to wherever you want. But we will keep that for a later tutorial. In the meantime, as usual, happy WorkAdventure reading and have fun! Bye!